Good morning, everyone. One of my favorite things to look at and one of my biggest inspirations is just like vintage old typography. And this has been this way for a really long time. One of my first sort of memories of drawing or being interested in like graphic art or illustration was like looking at old record album covers that were around my house when I was a kid. And I was always really into the band logos, especially, and I would always like try to redraw them. And then that's sort of what led me into a career in graphic design, which is what I did before I became an illustrator. But even as an illustrator, lettering has always been a big part of my work. And that sort of vintage retro type inspiration is clearly still there to this point. So in today's video, I thought I would take some actual vintage typography that I have collected and use inspiration from that and like take some of those letter forms and make them into something new. So that will involve, sometimes copying letters, but then I'll have to like make up other letters to fit because the references won't have all of those letters. And I'll show you how I do that and adapt things and sort of like make compositions. So it'll be sort of like a combination of illustration, kind of collagey, even though I'm going to be redrawing it. But I'm going to work through that process. I'll show you a little bit of some of the references that I pulled. I pulled a ton of these, and then I just sort of narrowed it down this morning so that I could, have some sort of cohesive system for what I'm going to use in this live stream. So before we get into that, I just want to quickly shout out my channel members. Thank you to all of you. All of my super supporters and above get their name lettered and included in all the videos that I make while they are channel members. Can't thank them all enough. This is also relevant because they're all lettered and we're talking about lettering today. And as you can see here, there's all different types of styles and lettering styles here. You can see the wide range of inspiration that I have. And just an extra special shout out to the newest super supporter, Luna Darkness, because your name was drawn but wasn't added into the full list yet because I have to reconfigure it, but I didn't get a chance to do that yet. So you get your own special shout out today. So thank you so much. Okay. Let's turn this off. I'm going to switch over to my iPad so I can get some cool lettering on the screen from this amazing archive that I actually got from Retro Supply Co. It's called their lettering library, and they took all of these like vintage out of print books and scanned them in at high resolution. And you can like buy this archive, and it's just this massive file, PDFs of all these old books that you can't get anywhere else. And it's the most amazing archive of lettering that I've ever seen. I actually did a video about it because it just blew my mind so much when I first got it. But I look at it all the time, and I'm going to use stuff from that archive to do this illustration today. So let me switch over to my iPad screen and show you just some of the stuff that I've collected. Let me just put something up on the screen while I just check in with the chat here. There's a lot of people here. I'm happy to see you all. Luna Darkness, I hope you heard your little shout out and saw your lettering treatment. Reneska Design, hey from Slovakia, amazing. Love seeing all the places that everyone's from. Nikon Knights, hi from the UK. Look at this, we got all different countries right off the bat. Trent Langley, how's it going? Darren Burrell, Nisha Day, how are you? Via Lucia, Tress Crawford, so many, it's Tolien. Hello. I don't know why your name catches me every single time. I think because it looks like it should be something else every single time. Star Walker, hi, how's it going? Diana Lisa, nice to see you. It's your B-Day. Happy birthday, Diana Lisa. Diana Lisa is one of my super duper supporters, known as the My New BFF tier. and she's the best. So happy birthday, Diana Lisa Robinson. Adam All, happy Friday. Let's see. Just trying to. Richard Van Lee, how's it going? You said you have the Retro Supply Co archive, and it's amazing. Okay, Anifomo, South Africa, how's it going? Gerardo, how are you? Okay, so I'm just gonna flip through some of these amazing things that I just grabbed. I just like screenshot some stuff because I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do for the lettering illustration that I'm gonna do in this live stream. So I was like just trying to look at stuff and find inspiration, and part of that was just looking at stuff that resonated with me, even though I didn't have a plan for what I wanted to do with it. So since I spent so much time gathering all this stuff, I thought I would share it with you. But just look at some of this stuff. Like, look how cool this is. So what I'm going to do in this live stream is like take some lettering styles and elements. Sorry, I just like that this says wiener. It's hard for me to concentrate. Oh, there's really fancy letters that say wiener. And make something new from that. And what I'm going to do, I don't know why I'm like pacing it out. When I was trying to think of like what words I would use or what, like if it was going to be a phrase or something like that, I was thinking, oh, it's the new year, and I didn't want to do like a new year thing, but then I thought, you know how like there's always like new words of the year and like words get added to the dictionary. So I was like, I wonder what those are. I wonder if there's anything interesting. And you know, there's some funny things that were added. And I think the main focus for this illustration is going to be the term goblin mode, which I think I may have heard of, but I think is really funny. And it's unapologetically self-indulgent. I think that's really funny. So I was thinking goblin mode would be the main focus. I also like that goblin is sort of like a old-timey word, but goblin mode together is just, you know, feels very new. So I think that will contrast style-wise. And then there's just some other good ones, other phrases that were added and so on that I just wanted to incorporate into this. Another one is a French phrase that apparently is was very common or something. I don't even know where I was finding this stuff, but I was reading a lot of stuff about words and sayings and like spikes in use or whatever. So this phrase is sieste la hesse, which means it's a bummer, and I think that's really funny. So apparently that's been used a lot. So I wanted to put that in. Maybe it'll look like goblin mode is like a phrase, is like a brand, and then that's like a tagline or something like that. I also want to include this word that was added to the dictionary, and this word is yeet. Now, I've heard the word yeet. I think I've heard it in songs where someone's like a rapper is yelling it or something, and I assumed it meant something horrible. Maybe it still does mean something horrible, but in the dictionary, it means expressing a strong emotional reaction, often for humorous effect. It can also be a verb, if you didn't know this, and it's to throw something forcefully in a specified direction. And you can use it as, so the example is, my teacher saw a bug on a holy moly, it got yeeted right off the internet. Actually, the internet connection seemed fine, so I don't know what happened. I hope that it's all back for you all. I'm sorry that happened. I don't know what happened, but I think we got yeeted. We got yeeted bad, but I'm back, I think. So if everything is okay and you can hear me, let me know in the chat. I apologize for what has happened. And we're back. We're back, I think. So I think maybe we should just get into it. I could show you this stuff forever, but let's just go into Fresco to see the stuff that I have selected to use for this stream. All right, glad that I'm back. I had to actually restart my computer for some reason. Okay, so this is the first thing that I've selected to use to do the goblin mode lettering. Let me show you what else we got here. So I got that. I grabbed this because I wanted some simple but kind of fancy lettering to draw yeet. I don't want to get yeeted off the internet again, but I liked this Y here and this fancy T, so I thought we could use that to make that word. I really like this script here, and I was thinking this would be good for the oh, I need to pull up my list of words for the French phrase because I forgot what it is. Bear with me for a second. I just got to get my Notion going over here. It is sieste la hesse. So I'm going to attempt to make this referee lettering completely different. So that'll be, I think, interesting to see how I use this as inspiration, but make new letters that aren't really there. So I can't like copy exact letters. I can copy like the E, but we'll see. And then these were the things I selected to make the little WTF little monogram thing. And then I just grabbed a couple things that I might use for like a frame border situation. And then this one too. So we'll see. So the first thing we're going to do is start with this, trying to do this goblin mode lettering. So I'm going to leave this group. I'm going to bring the opacity down. And what I like to do when I'm like using old vintage type as a reference is like I'll trace the stuff that I need, but I'll do it in like a pencil, like as a sketch. And then once I have the full composition, I'll redraw it like using the sketch without like retracing the letter so that I can make it kind of feel all cohesive and it gives it its own sort of little bit of style. I don't know. You'll see the process as I go. Ace, you're a new subscriber. Thank you so much for being a new subscriber. All right, so obviously we've got a great G here. It was kind of what led me to use this. So I'm just gonna go right ahead and hold on, I need to pull my words back up again because everything, when I had to restart, everything got ruined. No, it's the wrong one. So I'm sorry again about the disconnect and the chaos. I guess it wouldn't be a live stream if it wasn't chaotic for me. Okay, so I'm gonna come in here and I'm gonna trace this this goblin mode. Let's just make sure my smoothing isn't all the way up. I'm using the my current sketching brush lately has been the Retro Supply Co. The Scumbler, which is from the liner set, which is where my classic inker is from that I use for everything. So I'm tracing it, but I'm just trying to, I'm not trying to be too precise. I just want to get this like the shape, and then I'll sort of adapt it a little bit after the fact. But I'm just trying to get like the important parts so that I can remember them. But because I'm going to have to draw like my own letters for some of the words that are some of the letters that aren't in in the reference, I'll probably be, modifying them a little bit. So I just want to kind of, I think because the G is the main letter that I'm building this from, I want to get this pretty close. Like that. Okay, so right off the bat, we don't have an O, and there's actually nothing, well, we can use, like, so what I do is look for a letter that's close, and we've got a few different things, like the A is pretty close. It looks like the E is more close because it goes, the roundness goes further. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to I always make new layers for the letters so I can like move them around and stuff like that. And then sometimes I'll like, oh, looking over here, I see that there is an O in the Colosseum lettering, and that looks like it's about the same. It might be a little bit more condensed, but well, we can use that and then maybe just stretch it to fit. So on this new layer, I'm just going to come over here and copy the shape of this O. And when you're using reference type, like vintage type as a reference, and you're having to make up your own characters, you want to be paying attention to like the way the letters are shaped and the things that they do. So like these like points and like the angle and like the extreme thicks and thins between like, the connection on the C and then this like wide area here and the points. So those kind of things will give you hints on how to make the other letters. So now I'm going to bring this over here, and I was right, it is more condensed. So what I'll do is I'll just sort of use the letters that are already here to sort of just try to like eyeball it and make it seem like it matches the size properly. So that's pretty good. And then the next thing we have to do is a B. So my initial thought was that maybe I could flip the D, but I think that angle back is going to look weird as a B. So I think instead what I'll do is use this L as like the the side part of the B, and then we can make the little bowl part of it. Actually, while I'm here, I'm going to duplicate this and do the LI because we need that for Goblin. Oh, I should put on some background music since there's going to be a bunch of silences while I'm drawing. Okay, cool. So let's merge that down. We can bring this over here. We can use this this part of the N is a really good reference for this, for the I, because that part would be the same. Okay. Yes, definitely super tight kerning on that LI. All right, so now we are going to need to make this B. So you may think that the O would be the way to go, but I think, that rhymed. I think it might look weird having like those 2 points there. Oh, maybe not. Actually, it does look kind of cool. Let's give it a shot. So go like that. And then we could just erase this part, that inset area, because it would go all the way over here. Actually, yeah, I think that does look cool. Okay, so we will take this B, come over here, and then we can use this, I'm using the point on the R to get that sized properly for this new style. And then we can bring our LI over and figure out what we need to do about the spacing. So now we've got an N here, so I'm just going to copy this N just as it is. And as you can see, this is, the original was hand lettered. You can see that imperfection and the curve there. This was from a lettering specific book from that Retro Supply Co. lettering library, which if you're interested in checking it out, there is a link below. You can find it in the link that says it's about the brushes I use, because that's Retro Supply Co. Okay, so we have all these elements here, but we need to do some fine tuning because they're all sort of like different shapes and it's a little sloppy. So what I want to do is I'm going to put these all in a group so that I can control. Did my background music not play? I said play background music. You guys hear any background music? No? Okay. Adam, so why not take the B and flip it? Yeah, so I mentioned that it'll, I think it would look weird curving back, so that's why I decided not to do it. Just because it wouldn't, I think it looks okay there as a D, but if the B was going that way, I think it could get a little confusing. Okay, so what I want to do now is make some guides that I can use as a reference to clean up my type and make it fit better. So what I'm going to do is just draw some lines that kind of mark the baseline. I'm going to duplicate this and the X height of these letters. And I guess that's really all we need. So I'm going to merge those down and then turn off the reference type. And then I'm going to come back here. And what I'm going to do now is just sort of kind of fine tune this so it looks a little better, because it's the spacing is all kind of awkward. It's a little bit weird, and I don't want that to be the case. And I want it to be less weird. So because I used and adapted the type from the other lettering, which was a little bit more condensed, some of the stuff doesn't match up that well. So what I'm going to do at this point is, I know the G is good, and I think the O is okay because it's different enough. So what I'm going to do for the others is I'm going to merge the blin down, because that's the stuff that I want to clean up a little bit. So I'm going to come over to this N and use this as like a shape that I will repeat wherever it's used, because this was taken from the actual the lettering that like the main lettering, the one that was over here. And I'm going to duplicate this and put it everywhere I can to keep things more consistent. And you'll see that like the height of that L is higher than the B, and I want it to match. So what I'm going to do is duplicate that one, and I'm going to grab the transform tool and double tap the modifier so that it locks the x-axis. and then drag that over. Oops. Like that. And let's see. I think that is all okay. Can merge those down. We may need to adjust the spacing afterwards, but that's no big deal. And then I'm going to grab this shape over here from the bottom to use. And let's duplicate that and double tap to lock the x-axis as we drag. Duplicate. So I'm just putting this wherever, whoops. I did too many taps there. Like that, and oh, we need it for the eye as well. So let's just merge these all together, and then we can copy and paste again since it's a little confusing. I'm going to come in here and erase this overlap like that. And we'll have to fix how the N works over here because it's looking a little odd because of this connection. But I think we just need to connect that. So again, this is the sketch part, so it's rough because I'm going to redraw it to tie it all together. Okay. And we can pull this down like that. And let's draw the rest of the B. So I want to match this part of the O. So what I'm going to do is actually just duplicate the O and get my document straight, and then use the modifier to keep it locked on that x-axis. Pull that in like that, and then erase this stuff over here. And then we can draw the rest in. All right, so I think what I want to do now is adjust spacing stuff before I get the eye in there to decide if I want to keep using that really tight kerned LI situation. So I'm going to pull this in like that. Then we'll do the same thing for the L. Lock that in. Gobble, gobble, gobble. This is for Thanksgiving illustration. It says goblin. All right, and now let's make our life easier by just copying this I. Copy, paste, lock. Okay, go like that, and then let's just shorten it here with this. There we go. And now we can move the N over to fit the rest. So I'm going to zoom out so I can see the full thing. And I think that is probably good for our spacing. And then we just need the dot on the eye, which we forgot to pull over. Switch back to the tool. Go like that. All right, so I think this is fine and dandy. Let's merge that down, merge that down, merge that down, and then get rid of these guides. Now we've got our goblin lettering. It looks like I merged stuff that didn't need to be there, but it's okay. This is just a sketch, but I'll erase some of it so it's not that sloppy. Okay, so now we need mode. Diabetic Iguana. That is a funny username. I'm currently using the Retro Supply Co. Scumbler from their liner set. I like this brush for sketching. It's just like a pencil-y brush. So let's turn this back on, and I want to make a mode from this Ellery's lettering. So what I'm going to do is, because we don't really have any of the letters we need except for the E, we're going to have to make some stuff up here. So to start the M, I'm going to just copy this part of the E to use as that first leg of the M. And then I think the M would be a little bit wider than just this leg right here. So what I'm going to do is get these diagonal lines, and then I'm going to, oops, I meant to do that on a different layer. I'm just going to shift it over just a wee bit like that, just to give it a little bit more space. And I'm going to roughly just like kind of guess at how the angles would come down on the M. So to do that, I'm going to look at the other letters for reference. So in this lettering style, you see that the crossbar on the E is very high, and like the counter area on the R is very high. So that tells me that the M would likely be similar. So to match that style, I'm just going to sort of rough in a short line part like that, because I feel like that might look cohesive with the other letters, like the E. Okay, so I'm going to make a new layer, and because we don't have an O, and I don't really know what an O would look like in this typeface, I'm just going to sort of make room for it by just making a rectangle in that space, and then we'll come back in afterwards and make that the D. So I'm going to do a new layer for the D, and I'm just going to use this R as a starting point, and there is a D down here, but this one's not very helpful because it's not on that like dramatic angle. So I think using this curve as like a reference on the R would be more helpful. And then we can just use that leg. It looks like in this typeface or this font, the lettering style, the counter is just sort of pretty normal and centered like that. And we'll just shift this over. And now we can turn these off and just trace one of these E's. Leonardo, you said super shout out to you as you started using Fresco and you had no idea how to use and your videos are inspiring. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Ravu, hey, I don't know if I said that right, but hey. So I'm just going to copy this R like this. And you may think that this is going to be easy because we actually have the letter here, but the problem is it's not going to line up where it needs to be. So we're going to have to do some modifications. So let's turn the M on. Let's turn on the O placeholder that we're going to have to fix. And then let's turn off the E, turn the D back on. Let's see if it's in the right, yeah, okay, and then the E, we need to just move over here and start to scale it down to fit. And you can see the angle is all off. So let's figure out how to fix that. I'm gonna merge these all together, bring down the opacity, but turn it off for a second. And then on this layer, what I'm gonna do is make some guides again to get this curve, and then I'm gonna turn back on what I was working with, and then on my guide layer, I'm gonna draw some verticals that are in like places that are similar to the new letters, but reference the original so that I can get the angle right. So for example, that on the E, just to get that angle right. Some of them aren't going to be in the right spots, but they're just sort of references for points in the lettering of where that lettering starts to change and like rotate. Okay, so now we can turn off that type and we can turn down the opacity on our new guide layer. And now we can use that to fix this type up. Rovu, I apologize if I'm saying that wrong. You said, what's the difference between Fresco, Photoshop, or Illustrator? That is a good question. So Fresco was designed from the ground up to be used to like as an iPad app, but it's not just that. Fresco is mainly like an illustration and drawing application. Photoshop is sort of a behemoth that does everything, but it's mainly a raster-based image editing and creation software that you can do a lot of stuff with. Illustrator is vector drawing application. Fresco combines both vector and raster workflows, but it's very drawing based. When you're working in vector and Fresco, you're drawing just like you would with another brush, but it's just a more streamlined illustration software. It also incorporates a lot of different unique motion features that you can't do in Illustrator. You can do motion in Photoshop, but they don't have the same sort of just like click and go features that Fresco has. But they all work together. Like you can go back and forth. Like I can send my Fresco files over to Illustrator. Fresco files actually are Photoshop files, so you can work back and forth between the two, which is helpful especially for my workflow. So what I'm doing now is just taking the letter forms and just sort of fitting them to this guide to match the curves. For the O, I just sort of tried to keep it sort of rectangular, but curve it along those lines. And I'm just going to do like a center point based on the thickness of the other letters. And I'm using those angle guides to help me just match that. So the E was the one that got distorted the most. So what I'm doing is using the guides that I drew to sort of get the top and bottom part, and then I will build out the other parts to match that. So I'm just referencing the thickness of that line, of that like the crossbar there, and just sort of putting them where they would be. Like that. Okay, cool. So the O could use a little finessing, but we can do that when we get to that point. And then just kind of reminding myself visually that this is like, has a border around it, but you know, we can always look at the reference again at the end to confirm that. So I'm gonna delete that stuff that we don't need anymore, delete that first rough sketch. And now I'm going to move this over here to sort of figure out how it could fit together. I think that's looking pretty good. It reminded me that on this one, on this Colosseum lettering, the M at the end of Colosseum has this like extended leg that I kind of like, and I might steal that because of how the mode lettering curves and comes down a little bit. I think that N part would look like having the N come down like that M would be a cool feature. So I will bring that into my goblin group. Bring down the opacity there. Let's turn this off. And then let's, oops, wrong layer. Let's erase that. And then we can bring that back up. Merge that down. Fill that in. I think that's kind of cool how it fills in. And let's come back to this and maybe draw some of this flourishy decoration stuff to sort of kind of tie these together, just like it does with the elleries. Manny, you said Fresco is basically Procreate but made by Adobe. Sort of, yeah. They do a lot of similar things. They're both drawing applications. The difference, though, is that Fresco allows you to work in vector as well as raster, which is really crucial for me as a professional illustrator because I often have to deliver vector artwork for some of my clients. In addition to that, if you want to do like motion stuff and like add movement to your illustrations, Fresco makes that so much easier because in Procreate, you can do frame by frame animation, but it's tied to your layers. But Fresco allows you to have a different timeline on every single layer in your document, and it also has motion paths where you can just sort of draw a path for things to move along, which is super neato. So I'm just like roughly kind of pulling in shape, like feathery, flourishy shapes from that. And we can kind of play around with that afterwards and, you know, maybe change it or update it or do whatever. But I'm just sort of kind of adding some of those in. So if we turn that off, you'll see that's kind of coming together nicely, but it's loose enough that I can interpret it however I see fit as we go. So I'm going to pull that in there. And I think it's time to do some Yi lettering. So let's look for that reference. I think I forgot to turn on the group. Let's turn that off. Let's, yeah, that's the layer. Okay, so turn off the lettering that we did there. And let's copy this really fun little Y. I need to turn on my background music because I think that will make things better. Sound effects. I finally found it. Okay. There we go. Destiny, Adobe is not canceling the Fresco deal. Where'd you hear that? I would know about those things. Recently became an Adobe community expert, so I get a little bit of the insight on the back end. But no, Adobe is not canceling anything with Fresco. What they are making a change to the like Adobe Enterprise accounts with the Creative Cloud syncing, but it doesn't really affect most people, and it's just like it doesn't affect libraries or anything. It's just like a little file thing. Okay, so we got this E for the yeet. Just gonna pull this over here. I'm gonna duplicate it because there's two E's in the yeet. And then I want to do something with this fancy T, but we're not gonna be able to have this like long curve over here. So I'm gonna try flipping it. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna trace this shape, just the top part. And I'm going to make a new layer and just get a vertical section from one of these E's just to get that width. And I'm gonna drag that over here. And then let's take this and let's flip it. I think that could be okay. So let's turn that off so we can just look at this on its own and kind of tighten this up a little bit. I think the some of these letters could kind of fit together a little bit better. So that's that E. So I'm gonna pull that in nice and tight. I'm gonna grab this Y, maybe like attach it and just a tiny bit bigger. Generally, when you have like a curved area, that would go a little bit below the baseline to visually match in weight. If you made them exactly the same height, it would look a little bit smaller. I have not been to Adobe Max yet, but I plan to go this year. I think. I mean, next year. Well, this year. Yeah, this year. Okay, so I'm going to pull that over. I want it to like touch a little bit. And now I'm just going to fix the bottom so that they're the same. I think what I'll do is draw a line connecting those and then erase that overlap, erase that. Okay, we got our fancy lettering. I feel good about it. I think it's ready to be yeeted. Let's merge that down, merge that down, merge that down, and let's like get it somewhat straight. And now I think we need like a fancy border for it to make it like a little logo situation. And I have one of those things saved. So I think it's here. Okay, cool. So I want to use this one on the right. So I'm going to take my yeet lettering and I'm going to move it into here. I'm going to scale it up like that to fit in there. And then on a new layer, I'm going to draw in this border. And I'll just do one side of it and then flip it. Like that. Okay. And now I'm going to duplicate that and then flip it. Bring that. So I did it this way so that I could make it longer than it is in the image, so it fits the type that I'm doing better. And now I can just go ahead and connect these lines. Okay. We are good with that. While I have this up, I want to do that little WTF thing that I talked about. And I'm using this as that guide. Okay, so we've got a W, so I'm going to start with that. So I'm just going to copy this W like this. Paying attention to where those areas are super thin, noticing this little detail where that kind of comes over. And it looks like that would be based on this line because it's hand lettered. Go like that. And I'm actually going to use this connection here for the T. So now that we've got this W here, we need a T, which we don't have, but that's okay. We can just take this, the stem of this R, and then copy this bottom serif on this side, and then just do it symmetrical on the other side, not like the R where it's coming out further, because that would make it not look like a T. It would be subtle, but it would be a little bit. And now we need to show the other side of the T. And I think what we can do is use this part of the F that I'm going to steal for the WTF part. And that'll make it feel more cohesive as well. So I'm going to duplicate that and just drag it over here like that. That looks pretty good. And then we can merge that down, and now I can grab this F, which is already, it's very similar, but I think it might, this type treatment, lettering treatment on the left is a little bit wider. So I'm just going to maybe have to adapt that a little bit, but we'll just bring it over and then customize it to make it match. This is also super helpful exercise, like when you are wanting to learn lettering, like tracing over existing letter forms is such good practice because it makes you really focus on the thicks and thin areas and the way letters are constructed. Okay, so I'm gonna scale this to fit. I think I want to separate it so it doesn't, because I think if I connect them, it may end up looking like an S. But what I am going to do is shorten this side so I can move them together closer. And I think that'll actually make it look more like an F anyway, because it'll emphasize the stuff that's happening on the right. All right, feeling okay about that. And now I'm going to center this in this crest shape thing. And it needs to be centered because of the design. So I think what I'll do is kind of draw in the these center points So I'm gonna duplicate those circle things and flip them, and then use the modifier to lock those in place. And then on a new layer, I'm gonna draw these flourishes. And we can do this lower one. And I'm not too concerned about making it like paying attention to the thicks and thins, because I'm gonna want the whole illustration to feel cohesive. So I'll probably base it on flourishes from another area if I need to update it a little bit. Okay, so now we can duplicate this, flip it, lock that x-axis. And let's turn off our reference and make sure that looks okay in there. I think it could stand to be condensed a little bit. There's a lot of extra space in there that's not needed for this. So I think what I will do is I'm going to delete one of those. And then on this one, I'm going to select this center part and move it in closer like that. I was gonna change those outside flourishes to move them in, but I think they kind of look nice extended out like that. So now I can duplicate this one, flip that, lock that x-axis, pull this in. Cool, that is good. Merge this all down, merge this all down, and let's see if we can get these two things into our composition. The brush I am using right now to sketch is the Retro Supply Co. Scumbler from their liner set, which also includes the classic inker, which I like a lot. Okay, so let's start with the yeet. I think I want the yeet to like, I think it could go like right there. And then this, oops, this little WTF crest, maybe that can go like down here or something. Okay, that's fine for now. We can always modify it as we go. And now we just need to do the, what is it? Siest Lahes. Okay, so this one's going to be the tricky one because we don't really have many things to work with. I really like the way the lettering pairs with the referee. So maybe we can do like sieste there and then Lahes for the referee thing. So I think what I'll do is just try to like make an L that sort of feels like what's happening here. Oops. Let's make a new layer outside of this group. So maybe I can, maybe that's too low. Just trying to like match up the shapes that are already there. So I'm trying to do this like curve over thing for this part of the L. Then maybe we can go like that. That's kind of cool. That way we're matching the same flow, which is what I wanted to do. And so yeah, the modifier is a super helpful thing. So we need an A now. Oh no, wait, yeah, Lahes. Let's see. how do we want to make this A? Let's start with the E to get the bowl. Like that. And then maybe we can use this part of the R. And now we can kind of pull that over here. I think the angle on that is not ideal, so maybe we can make it over here with this E. So like sometimes you have to draw the letter in like a different place when it's like all curved like this to get like a feel to get the shape, but then have to like modify it again to fit the rest of the lettering. So let's take this over where it needs to go over here. Let's whoops, we left half of it. Merge that down. We can turn that off. So let's pull it in here and then just sort of size it up to sort of match where that E was. I think it's a little wide for this style. Okay, cool. And now we need the H, which sort of lines up well with this F. So maybe we can use this like that, maybe. And then maybe we can reference that curve for like something like that. Then maybe just sort of lining up with that part of the E. Okay, and now we need ESS. So I'll just come over here and actually I'm going to turn off the H and I'm going to start with this E. And I think I'm going to use the R as like a for the S. So like this part right here, I think. And then like pull it back. Yeah, I think that could work. All right, so let's, before we connect those, let's get the E in place. So it should be a little bit smaller. And then this S, go like that. And then we'll duplicate it, get another one, and put that there. I'm not gonna worry too much about that placement yet because we need to get the angle right. So I'm gonna merge this all down. Delete, merge that down. And again, I'm gonna do what I've done before where I draw a baseline for a baseline and like the X height for this like lettering, and then I'm just gonna pull in some guides to just hint at the angles of these letters, just as like because it's like, as you can see, it's like coming up and arcing and rotating. So I want to match that feel, but I need to get rid of that layer so that I can focus on the new letters. Okay, so now with this, I can finesse my lettering based on that. So I'm gonna start with this H because of how it interacts with both the A and the L there. So go like that. And then I'm gonna pull this L up like that to just like have those fit together so it looks very intentional. And then everything else I felt pretty good with on this. So just come in like that. And then can draw this in. And then this, I'm gonna curve this, the bottom part of the A up a little bit, and then match that little indent thing, and just sort of curve it a little bit more. I think that needs to come up a little bit higher to exaggerate that side. And then I'm gonna let this little flourish on the H kind of line up nicely with that, with the top of the A there. We can pull this in. This is all looking okay, I think. And then we can connect those letters. And we can pull this E up a little bit to fit onto the baseline that we were trying to establish. And then I think we need to shorten the S a little bit. And then I'll make this connect there. Same thing with this. Cool. So we can get rid of that guide layer. We don't need that anymore. Think now that I see this, I'm realizing that I was not, the whole A situation, it needs to be closer to the L, which was a stupid mistake on my part. So let's see what we can do to fix this up. This doesn't read properly as is. So maybe I'll just tuck this over like that. And then maybe we can make this flow a little bit better by redoing this crossbar on the H to fill that space a little bit. So maybe we can just sort of, well, that's a little too forced. Maybe it just needs to come in like that. Yeah, that continues the flow. And then maybe this, we can pull that out to exaggerate it, and they're like almost connecting. It just sort of guides your eye there. I feel okay with that. Let's merge that down. Glad you're enjoying it, Rovu. Rovu. Sketching grids, yeah, Daryl. Did anyone get a Wix ad? YouTube interrupted live streams with ads. Oh, they do. Interesting. I didn't know that was happening. Does it just comes right back to the live afterwards? Okay, so now we need the sieste. So I'm just going to turn that off and make a new layer for this. This is very simple lettering, so it's not going to be that complicated. So I'm just going to kind of trace the T and then just repeat that side of the crossbar for the bottom. Instead of tracing the actual E for the E, I'm going to trace the H because it's at the angle that I want. And then I'm just going to pull those lines over and use the crossbar of the H as my guide for the E. And then I'm going to make up an S based on this lettering. Maybe. So what I'll do is I'll have it come in at the same height as the crossbar so it feels cohesive. Then just sort of shift this out, match that line weight, pull that over, match that line weight. And then we need a T, which we already have because it's the first letter. So we'll just come back here, trace this T. And now we just need to put this together. So we got the C, the E. We need to move the E a little bit because we got to put in that little apostrophe, which I can just do a simple one because this is a very simple lettering style. Then we got the S. And as you can see, our T is a mess. I think it's actually going to be easier to do a new T to fix this curve, but what we can do is just merge this, or just group this, I guess, and then turn it off, and then make a guide for this curve. Oops. Like that. And now we can turn that off and just fit this in. So what I'll do is just bring down the opacity of that T and just make a new one that matches that angle. Okay, cool. So we can delete the old T, delete that guide layer, and now I'm just gonna flatten this group, and now we can place it within this lettering. So because it's a little bit longer, I need to make it a little bit smaller. I'm also gonna shift it up a little bit because the L changes that shape a little bit. And then we can put in these little apostrophes because it is sort of like a quote. And those are a cool element. Move those up, not transform them, move them over there. Okay, let's merge this all together. And let's put it into our composition. So I'm thinking it would be a nice little like quote thing to go, like if Goblin Mode was the brand. And then I think that sizing's probably right. I think our WTF grid is probably a little, our little crest is a little too big. And now I just think we need a little bit of like a decoration to sort of tie this together and make it feel cohesive. So I've got some references for that. So I was thinking this, whoops, I always forget to turn on the group. I was thinking we could do something with this Cadillac ad. Like maybe use this little flourish over here. So come in here and it can like attach to that one. And I want to try to like have it wrap the bottom of the CS Lahes lettering to sort of fix this connection. So maybe can kind of tuck in there, and then I can just manually like connect it over here, like this one, connect it to that. And again, this is for like the sketch, and I'll kind of come in and tighten it up after the fact. Let's see, can we use another aspect of this? Maybe thinking this fits nicely there. Let's that sort of just ties in like that. I don't know, it might need like a little embellishment there. We can decide later on when we do the tightened up version. Okay. And I think I just want to have this thing over here saved as like a maybe for this like outer edge. So maybe we can do something with this kind of, I feel like this ties in with the rest. I'm exaggerating a little bit more to match the other stuff that we're doing. I just feel like it needs something to connect it all. And then maybe we can just have like a connection like that pulls in. And then do the same thing on like the other side just to connect that as well. I'm thinking that the WTF is still a little too big. Just want it to look like a little crest situation. Okay, and then let's see. As you can see, I'm just sort of loosely referencing this. I'm not trying to like be obsessively tied to it. Maybe we can use this this piece down here. Let's copy and paste that. And let's like flip it so it's gonna go in there. All right, I think this is coming together. This, maybe we'll just go like that. I think this whole thing over here can just kind of get streamlined a little bit. Let's merge that stuff all down so I can clean it up a little bit. It's getting a little too chunky on that side. I just wanted a framework to sort of tie it together. And then like just a little bit here to kind of pull it all in. Yeah, I think we can use this to make the illustration. So let's merge this all down, merge that down, merge that down. And now let's size it up. Cool. So I think maybe I'll do this in using my gritty vector to help kind of streamline and clean up some of these tighter edges. So turn down the sketches and I'll come over here and grab my VV Sharpie. I think that'll be good for this. And now I'm just going to come in here and do the tightened up line work. So this is nice and sharp and angular, so I'm going to use the vector trimming to get these sharp points. And as you can see, I'm doing this now from my sketch, so it's gonna change a little bit from the original reference, and I like that. I like to sort of sketch rough to get those letter forms, but then as I'm doing the final line work, it becomes a little bit more my own because the sketch is not that tight and the letter forms aren't exact. And it also helps it look more cohesive with the letters that I have to make up. Andre, thanks. Yeah, this, doing this sort of thing with tracing paper is definitely sort of like the inspiration for how I'm doing it this way. This just makes it a little bit faster. Okay, so because this is a vector, I'm gonna go into my modifier thing to trim this stuff out and get those nice crispy angles. Not to be confused with crispy vector presets. These are my gritty vector presets. Can I pop up my thing on here? Oh yeah, there we go, right over my face. Those are available in my shop if you want this VV Sharpie thing. Also, use the promo code, I can't pop it up here, promo code LIVE, L-I-V-E, to get 20% off your order. Oops. Okay, so now I'm going to do this inner inset line. And I am snapping in some spots, but I don't want it to be completely perfect. So like rounding that a little bit. Some of the widths are a little bit different. I don't want it to be too tight. I want it to still have that handmade look. But on the longer lines, sometimes I just want to snap it so it doesn't look weirdly wonky. But I'm like varying how much how much space there is on the outside edge. All right, let's trim those outer areas. Cool. I fill that in. All right, we've got our first letter done. Let's see if we can speed this up a little bit. I sort of feel like I should have gone with a thicker line weight, but at this point, I don't want to go too far. And I've also, it's got this inset thing in there, so maybe we can do thicker stuff with other parts of the design. Wrong part. Oh, also forgot to trim. Yeah, this is a long live stream. I have a hard time judging how long things are going to take. HLR design, you said, how did you even get to write CS Lahes? What do you mean? How did I get to write it? Or like, why did I write it? I guess before I answer, I'll see if you can clarify what you're asking. So maybe to save time, I will make this cap area and then duplicate it for the other letters. Oops. Glad you think it's turning out cool, lumpy pixels. Okay, so let me get my document straight here. Let's, oh, you know what? We should do the lines coming down. That. Okay, so I'm going to select this thing and I'm going to copy and paste it. I'm going to use the modifier to lock my x-axis, putting that over there. Then I'm going to duplicate this layer and I'm going to lock the x-axis. Actually, I didn't need to lock the x-axis for this one. Put that there, duplicate that. Normally, I probably wouldn't do this because I would want it to be less perfect. So I wouldn't duplicate it, so there'd be some more imperfections, but I think this design is complicated enough that it's okay. And I can always go in and change it a bit afterwards. So I do need to remember to go in and change this middle area on this part, but we can do that after the fact. So I can merge those down and then, whoops, switch back to the brush. And then I can sort of start to fix it and then make those connect. Looks like I'm already gonna have to do some adjustments there. Let's duplicate this and flip it. Lock the Y axis. I'm gonna have to get rid of that bottom part anyway. Merge down. Let's duplicate this one and flip it. How much time is this really saving me? That's the question. Duplicate that one. I keep over tapping my modifier. Okay. Let's merge this all down. And I want to just quickly look at my reference again because I don't really remember how this, oh, so they just slightly connect there. Okay, cool. HLR, you said you have a design on how to set up Fresco kind of like you did. Pretty cool way to create typography. I mean, I don't have anything changed. Basically, I mean, just like the brushes I'm using, like I'm using my gritty vector presets, but aside from that, I haven't changed Fresco at all or modified it or anything. So on this one, I'm just gonna get rid of this stuff so I can draw in the connection. Actually, I'm gonna wait to fill that in. If you fill in with the paint filler, sometimes it messes up it won't let you use the vector trimming because it's converted into a shape and it no longer recognizes where the those overlaps were. So just something to keep in mind. And you also need to make sure that you fully cross over a line if you want to trim the edges. So like I noticed down here, I didn't fully cross over, which can be a little hard to see when you're using like this, my VV Sharpie from the Gritty Vector set, because, you know, it's a little lumpy. Let's see if I can, oh yeah, cool. All right, so this side is all set, so I can actually go in and fill in this stuff. That end looks a little weird. I'm not happy with the way I think it's the reference too. Also, I forgot to do that bottom part. I think I'm gonna draw my N based on how I think it should look. Okay, let me just select this to delete this faster. Erase. Okay. Let's see. I'm being quiet right now because I'm concentrating on trying to figure out how I want this to look. Because I think the original design is a little bit weird. So I'm thinking maybe if I do a little bit, if I exaggerate that angle, it'll read better or more like an N. I think the readability was getting a little bit weird. I think sometimes this sort of black letter style can do that. It can be a little bit tricky to read. Did I accidentally erase my line? Yeah, I think I'm just overthinking it zoomed in, but I do think that is a little bit better. I think I just want to need to be on the brush. Shorten that second one a little bit. Yeah, I think that's fine. It's good enough. I see in the corner of my eye comments pop up, and I'm going to answer them in a second. I just want to do this letter while my brain is still knows what I'm doing, because it's a little confusing. Okay. I am not copy and pasting with the modifier. I'm just tapping on the layer and doing copy selection. I don't think you can copy and paste with the modifier. At least I don't know how to do that. But I feel like just tapping the layer is quick enough. Yeah, so HLR design, I am duplicating to save time. Normally I would like to just redraw it so that it wouldn't be exactly the same and it would have some, I don't know, I like the imperfection. Oh yeah, so the modifier is a real game changer. I actually have if you're interested in like the vector stuff, I have a full video on vector in Adobe Fresco that shows all like the shortcuts and stuff like that, but the vector trimming is incredibly helpful. It really saves a lot of time and just makes it so you can get really nice, crisp, tight angles. Get those like sharp points. And all you do is double tap the modifier. There's two options. The first one with the blue circle in the center just makes your brush an eraser. Then you tap it again to the outside and then you can trim any overlaps. but it needs to be two separate lines. For example, if I drew this counter in one shape, I wouldn't be able to trim any overlap. Oops. Healing Home Studio, you just upgraded your membership. Thank you so much. Susie Garner said, if you want to do a perfectly 90-degree line straight up and down from left to right, 90-degree angle straight up and down from, you could just hold and snap. Like if I draw straight up and down, I could hold and snap that. If you needed it to be like a perfect angle, you could use the ruler in the drawing tools at the bottom, and you could also rotate that. And when you rotate it, I believe it it'll show you your degrees. So you could lock it in at 90 degrees, and then you could just use that to draw your line. All right, let's move on to mode. So I'm going to switch to my monoliner in the gritty vector set so that I don't have tapering. Oh, I missed a spot. Actually, I don't know if I want a tapering the other one either, but that's besides the point. So the monoliner is the same as the VV Sharpie, but it doesn't have it doesn't change based on pressure. So when you want like just a consistent line, this one is helpful for that. Sagan, you said your stream is turning into my digital Bob Ross fix. That is funny, and I am honored. So yeah, with the vector trimming, like this is a great example of why it is a real time saver, because I can just draw that whole thing in one go. And it's so much easier to like get an accurate curve when you don't have to like stop at a specific point and you can just like go through. And then like this top part of the M, I can draw that all the way across so that it lines up perfectly. Do the same for that part. I could even do it for like the bottom of the M if I want that to match that same curve. I think that's a little high. Now we can just come in and trim it all with the vector trimming, then just get rid of all the stuff we don't need. You can draw through, you know, multiple lines at once. You could go like that. You could do all those at once. You could draw cross like that. And fix this, or maybe. I was gonna say maybe I could fix that overlap, but I don't think I can. Yeah, this one I'm gonna have to fix on my own. So I'll just use the brush as an eraser to match the texture and just kind of get rid of that lump that I had there. Okay, so I want to look back at what this, what the reference looks like for this lettering, because I think there was an inset or something on it, and I liked it. Oh, so it's like a really thin one. So I think what I'll do here is I'll keep that up as like a guide, and then just draw these lines in. Actually probably duplicate that for this one. It's slightly different because of the curve. I forgot about that. Okay. If you remember, it angles on the way up. It's a little too far over. Okay. Starting to think that maybe I won't be able to finish this whole thing, but maybe I'll get to like a point. Like maybe I'll do all the I don't know, we'll see. I'm over here doing like the easy ones first, like that. Oh, it's gonna be a little trickier. I might be able to do it by duplicating and shrinking, but it may end up being more work than it's worth. I'll have to see. Forget sometimes that I want it to be imperfect, so, you know, let me just wing it. What's the point of it being perfect? I'm like working from old distress stuff because I like the way it looks. Okay, so let's, what is this layer? That's just a blank layer? Let's merge this all down so we can trim out what we don't need. Turn that off. I'm going to make sure you're on the right layer. Lumpy Pixels, you said need Illustrator's offset feature. Yeah. Though, I think I don't know if it would do the same thing. It might look weird because it might be like too perfect for this. Why can't I trim that? It's okay. We'll come back. I made this really difficult on myself with these tight little corners, but that's okay. Hooray for vector trimming with these like tiny little pieces that it just cuts right out. It looks like we forgot this part. I forgot on this one too. Okay, let's fill it in and hope it looks good. Cool, and now we can just fix that little couple little notches. Making my brush a tiny bit smaller, but I don't want to go too small because I don't want to mess up that texture. Okay, cool. We can turn the sketch back on. Yeah, I don't think I'll be able to do this whole thing. Maybe I will do the La Hesse lettering, and then you'll have to check in to see the final piece. I'm going to switch back to VV Sharpie for this La Hesse, CS La Hesse. Let's bring the brush size down a little bit. It looks like my smoothing is off, and I need that to be way up to get these smooth curves. See, like being able to get a running start, like on that part of the L, really made it a lot easier to get that curve just right. And then I can just come in and then go beyond, and then it'll allow me to get that perfect sharp point. So when we come in here and trim that off, we get that really, really sharp point there. Hardicus, you said CS is pronounced se, and it means it. Yeah, thank you for telling me how to pronounce it. I do know about the meaning, because that's why I put it in here, because it this means it's a bummer, and I guess it was a very popular phrase in 2023. And I was trying to use either words that were added to the dictionary in the past year, or other like phrases that were listed on like the dictionary's website that were like popular over the year, and they had like a feature about like new words and phrases and stuff like that. So I thought that would be a fun way to, come up with something to do for this. And also I liked the idea of very new things being tied to this like vintage lettering. Oh, I wasn't correcting Hardicus73. I wasn't correcting your pronunciation. I certainly am no expert on pronouncing French words. I was just saying that why I picked it, and like I knew the meaning. I just didn't know how to pronounce it properly. But thank you for that. Definitely wasn't correcting you. Cool. I think I just want to taper this a little bit more using the eraser. All right. All right, then we just need these little apostrophes. Use the trimming to get those points nice and sharp. Think that yeah. You know what? Let's be a little cheaty here and copy and paste these. Copy, paste. Let's reflect them both ways. Yeah. I think I have to, I think I have to call it quits for now. Even though I would love to just sit here and do the rest of this. I gotta do some actual client work. And it's a Friday before another 3-day weekend, which means no daycare on Monday, which means no work for Chris. And that is tricky for me because I got a lot to do. And I can't handle these all these holidays, all these days off. It's just relentless. I feel like it's nonstop. And I know that I'm like the opposite, and everyone else is like, yeah, short work week. But like for me, I like my work weeks. And I know that I'm very lucky to be able to say that. But boy howdy, we got some holidays nonstop. And I'm ready to yeet these holidays. I'm gonna yeet them right out of here. Apparently I'm finishing the yeet lettering before I leave. I will be sure to share the finished piece both in the community tab of the channel and on Instagram. If you are interested, I feel like you may be invested at this point. Hard to, oh, you were correcting Daryl, not me. Oh. Well, I accept your apology. No, I didn't know if I came across like saying I knew how to pronounce it. I wasn't saying that. Well, I explained that, but you know what I'm saying. See, the vector trimming didn't work there because it didn't fully draw through the line. So when you're going to use vector trimming, you want to make sure that you've fully drawn through. So what I can do is just come back here and extend those lines just to be safe. And then I can trim that spot. And now I can yeet this color fill in. Can I use it that way? And there's my yeet, pretty neat. Okay. I hope you enjoyed this. I didn't realize it would take this long. I guess we lost a little bit of time when the internet or YouTube or whatever yeeted me. But here we are. If you want to check out these vector presets, they're my Gritty Vector ones, and you can use the promo code LIVE, LIVE, to get 20% off your order. New video on Tuesday, as always. Live streams every Friday, 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time. And on Wednesday, I did my first members-only video chat. We used Google Hangout so that we could actually talk and interact, and it was a lot of fun. If you were there, that was awesome. The plan is to do those monthly. I think Google Hangout worked pretty well, but we'll see. This has been a good talk. Thanks for hanging out. If you were here the whole time, give me an emoji in the comments of, I don't know, something. A wizard, maybe? A goblin mode? Put in the comments. After it posts, come back and do it so that people watch the live stream again, you know, because otherwise it just sits there. Okay, I appreciate all of you so much. Talk soon. Okay, good talk. Bye-bye.